Hi, this is Robert from the Kitt National Observatory Visitor Center, a nonprofit through its parent organization, AURA, the Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy. I would like to discuss briefly one of the objects that we enjoy showing our guests in our nightly observing and dark sky discovery programs at Kitt Peak. That object is the open star cluster. These celestial gems adorn both the summer and winter Milky Way, arms of the spiral galaxy we call home. They are called open star clusters because the stars in the cluster are not held together by gravity. Rather, they all form together from a large cloud of hydrogen gas called a nebula. Over hundreds of millions of years, the stars in these clusters disperse as the clusters move through the Milky Way. These clusters come in different sizes, different ages, and lie at different distances from Earth. Some contain a few dozen stars, and some many hundreds. A few well-known examples are readily visible to the naked eye, such as the Pleiades, or Seven Sisters in the fall constellation of Taurus. The Hyades, also in Taurus, is the closest open cluster to Earth at a mere 153 light-years. That cluster forms the face of the bull. In the spring, the constellation Cancer contains two lovely clusters, M44, known as the Beehive, visible in a dark sky as a hazy patch in the middle of the crab, and M67, one of the oldest known open clusters. As spring progresses, you'll find the Coma star cluster visible at 280 light-years, just trailing the constellation Leo, the cluster's stars being spread over a fairly large patch of sky, but perfect for binoculars. Wait for the summer Milky Way to rise, and you'll find Ptolemy's cluster, just off the stinger of Scorpius. This cluster's 80 or so members glitter brightly in the summer night sky, and just above them you can find another cluster, the Butterfly cluster. Astronomers study open clusters because they make good test beds for theories of stellar evolution. Once the distance to the cluster is known and the age of the cluster determined, we can assume that the composition of the stars is the same because they formed from the same nebula. Knowing distance, age, and composition, astronomers can then study the individual stars to determine their evolutionary states. This approach is much more effective than trying to compare random stars. But for casual stargazing, all of the clusters just mentioned make for grand viewing in a pair of wide-field binoculars or a modest telescope. But no matter how you observe them, these jewels of the night are sure to delight. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful night under the stars. The Kitt Peak Visitor Center brings the science of astronomy to the public through exhibits, daytime tours, and nighttime stargazing programs. To achieve this mission, the Visitor Center relies on your generous donations, and we thank you for your continued support. Please visit us online at visitkittpeak.org.